Good evening, good afternoon. What's going on, Buff Nation? Welcome back to another video. This show is brought to you by BetUS, and today we're going to be discussing a few things. First order business, some recruiting talk, a lot of potential flips happening. We're getting some eyeballs, some Batman, all kinds of stuff's happening like we've been talking about, but it looks like it's some heating up. Some official visits are happening. I'm telling you, buckle up. It's going to be a wild one. Then, of course, Cam Newton, Sheduer Sanders, little tiffle. We get some clarification on that altercation. We're going to talk all about that. And, of course, roll that intro, baby. So we spoke just the other day about some potential flips happening. There was a ton of people, a ton of recruits that were at UCF. We went over a few names. One of those names was Jeremiah Reed at Ole Miss. I think we mentioned Jerome Miles, Dallas Wilson. I know we spoke about currently committed to Oregon. Jesse Harold, I don't think I said his name. I might have. Kevin Wynn, I definitely did not say his name. The other names were Cardi Smith, which we'll get into, Byron Baldwin, who's currently committed to Indiana, and then, of course, quarterback Julian Lewis. All these names were reported by On3 that, hey, these are names to watch. These are on Flip Alert. And look, I'm going to break it down a little bit more. 3 wide receivers. Somebody asked, hey, can we see the position groups now that you can, okay? Dallas Wilson is probably, out of all these names, in my opinion, the least likely to flip, just given his long passion to play for the Oregon Ducks. If you go back and kind of follow his recruiting, I followed it pretty closely. He's very committed to the Oregon Ducks and has been a long time fan. Doesn't mean he can't flip. I'm just saying my least likely to flip. And my reason being is, if you take a look at these other classes, Jerome Miles, USC. We've talked about that. The same thing that I said about Cardi Smith and Julian Lewis, where there's a little bit of a juggle right now with USC. They're kind of on this teeter-totter of, are they going to put the pedal to the metal and really hammer this thing home and wrap up and kind of get USC on a roll? Or is there a possible fallback? I don't think they don't know where the direction is going. Defensively, they're kind of almost choked against Wisconsin. They've kind of pulled out at the end there. But I think they're trying to see what's happening on the football field to say, hey, is Lincoln still going to be here next year? I think that's a big possibility. So, like Jerome Miles and a possible flip, 5-star wide receiver, Samari Reed. Another one, Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin. A lot of conversations that he may not be there next year. Florida's a possibility. Nobody truly knows. Lane kind of keeps his cards close to his chest. But the reason I'm saying there's a possibility is because if there is uncertainty, Mr. Reed might start looking around of what's going on. Jesse Harold, they have a hell of a recruiting class for 2025. Hell of a recruiting class. This, I think, in my opinion, will be another tough one. But I've been stating this. I've been saying this. My biggest focus for the Buffs would be to focus on the trenches. Edge position is part of that trench position, right? So if there's a position that I think Colorado will double down on, it would be an edge rusher, would be a defensive lineman, would be an O lineman. They want to take those guys and develop them within, because we talked about it and you've seen this. It's much easier to go out and grab talent in the wide receiver room than it may be necessarily in those trenches, right? Kevin Wynn. I think we see what's happening with FSU. They're in complete shambles. There's kids leaving every single day and decommitting every single day. And he more than likely will be just another one. A 4-star recruit, big-time guy, big-time commit, sees kind of the writing on the wall. It's like this class, there was a kind of a false pretense of this big buildup that is now just completely shattered. And it looks like they can maybe only win 2 to 3 games this year, and that being FSU. So a lot of shambles happening there. And we spoke about this on this show too. I said, look, they want to go after and get obviously a high school quarterback and be able to develop and grow him. Unless it's Julian Lewis, and even Wilt Fong confirmed, they see them going after a quarterback like a Cam Ward-esque type where they can come in. Look, Cam Ward played at Washington State last year. Now he's a top Heisman candidate, right? They're out there. They're available. Who do you go and get? Also, what I like is what's exciting to this is that, look, I think you have to have a little bit of both. I've been saying this entire time, but Colorado has shown success navigating through the transfer portal. So, and especially this year, the changes they've made in the last 2 years, massive overhauls in the portal, and to be having this success very early on is showing that they're able to manage that portal transaction much cleaner than, let's say, other schools. FSU is one of those schools that's not handling that quick turnover very well. We're seeing them right now rock and roll at 1-4. Now, as for the altercation that happened with Cam Newton and Sheduer Sanders, I said on my show, I felt like, look, we don't know what happened. I was aware of the circumstances and what happened prior to, with Cam Newton speaking about Sheduer on his own podcast, saying, like, what has he done? What big games has he done outside of Jackson State? Like, since he's been here, right? What has he brought to the table? I didn't think that he may have heard or even spoke about that. And in another clip, you can hear Cam saying, yeah, he said, I'm on some weird shit. And then after the fact, asked about it, Sheduer Sanders said this. Said, look, I was just saying what's up. Sanders said that's all what really happened. He said something personally I didn't agree with. We talked about it and we had a great conversation, but I feel is how I feel about anything, everything. I just got to work in areas of my life about forgiving. That's what my dad teaches me overall. So and I think that was kind of where it was. It's like, I'm just at a point right now where I just like the people that play the position, understand, show some support. That's all I want, to get support from the people that play the position. But I'm okay with people criticizing my game, and I want to know, I like knowing, cool, what does this person think, or should I do better so I can work with it on being able to get better? So definitely kind of like, look, he's trying to grow and be like, hey, it's all good, like we're cool, but like right now, I'm not gonna go out of my way to make this cool. So maybe in the moment, that was probably the first time he had this interaction with him, and was like, look, man, you're on some weird shit, man. Like, I don't know. I don't know how you think about me, because the only time that I've seen you speak about me is in a negative light. And look, I think he's 100% right. He's going to be able to get better at forgiving, but in that moment, you're in this killer mind state. You're ready to play this game. That's where it is. So look, this kind of stuff is drama, and we talk about it a little bit, but it was a big, interesting point of emphasis that I wanted to bring back up, because there was some clarity, there were some questions. We did talk about it on the last show. Next up, we got some official visits happening. So Cardi Smith is set up for an official visit on October 25th, coming up in here just this month. We're about 20 days away from that a visit. Now, he's already visited before. The difference between, I've said before, an official visit and a regular visit is an official visit is all taken care of by the Buffs. Red carpet treatment, right? They pay for everything. They pay for travel, etc., food, all these things, right? They can show you more. Essentially, there's legalities to this on official visits versus official visits. And kids can only take so many official visits. So that's huge that he's using one of his official visits. Or no, they have limited, excuse me. The schools only have so many they can hand out. That's huge as well, that they're using one on him. And another one is, see here is this picture, is 3-star cornerback who's currently committed to SMU. Zadaean Gentry was offered by Colorado this past Monday, and he is now setting up an official visit. His senior stats, got 19 tackles, 1 interception, 5 pass blocks through his first 5 games. And SMU, you saw they did that to Florida State. SMU is an up-and-coming, from the death penalty from years ago. They are really starting to find a rhythm. They just had Keelan Russell, their 4/5-star quarterback, be flipped from Alabama. So they're recruiting well. They're finding talent, but they're getting them plucked from them as we speak, because look, SMU is still on the slow grow and slow grind. But 2 massive big official visits here. Again, I'm thinking this class finishes with 15 to 16 commits, and these 2 will be a part of it. Now, where all this is getting fired up, and we've talked about it already, kind of just the bat signals being thrown around. We've got Darius Darden-Box with the eyeballs. And in my past, in my experience, when these eyeballs get thrown around on the Twitter world, good things are to come. Good things are to follow. That's just from my experience, okay? He's very related to recruiting, so it's not like he had a good day and he just tweeted out some eyeballs, okay? There's usually, when there's smoke, there's fire. And this is the smoke signal, okay? Bat signal, smoke signal, eyeball signal, whatever you want to call it. That's what we're looking at here. So, like I said, we kind of have a feeling. We got Hayes Fawcett, the graphic king, tweeting out, it's flip season / decommitment season. That could mean literally anybody and anything. But when you see other signals, you got to think, okay, we see where this is headed. And it is a bye week. I said I could see something happening. You want to keep that momentum rolling if you're the Buffs. Just even though you are off, you want to keep that flow hopping and ropping. And I think this could be one of those things. Next up, though, I want to talk about before we wrap up the show is Jordan Seaton. Jordan Seaton here, for his last 3 games, 161 pass blocking snaps, 2 pressures, 0 sacks. Jordan Seaton is finding himself very quickly in big-time moments, in big-time games. This Kansas State game is going to be very interesting. I was thinking about it on my walk this morning. I go, man, Utah goes down to Arizona. I've been saying it this whole time. This Big 12 has been wide open. Utah, I got to eat my words here. I said they were going to be the top dogs. They look like to not be. Looks like BYU could be that team to beat in the Big 12. Utah now looks beatable. At one point, they felt like they were, again, I felt like they were a tier above, but they look beatable, right? And everyone is always beatable. I've always known that. But they definitely look more human than I originally thought going into the season. But where I was headed at, though, again, ultimately, this thing is wide open, and it feels even more wide before. You go out there, you crush Kansas State at home in 2 weeks. By golly, buckle up. People are already saying, I'm seeing it now. They go, Colorado is a legitimate playoff team. It's coming out. It's the conversation, the narrative is starting. We've talked about it on this show already, but the people that were against it that go, there's no way, are now looking at it and the same things that we've talked about on this show plenty of times. When you look at that schedule, these teams are not that intimidating. Are they going to be tough games? Yes, respectfully so. These are other good teams, but they're not just going to come in and just curb stomp Colorado. And now Colorado has shown that, hey, we are legitimate. We have the pieces to get it done. The things that we struggled on, the things that we were lacking at, we approached it in the portal, and it's starting to click. When you get things starting to click, this is why I love college football, is you get into a rhythm, you get into a momentum, you have an opportunity to get things done. There were some clips from practice where Coach Prime was laying into Sheduer saying, look, I don't need you to get complacent just because we get a W. Let's lock in. I need you to do better. I need you to rock and roll here. So love that the energy is still there. Again, it is a bye week, but we still got practice. We'll see how excited to see how these practices go over these next few days. Well, ladies and gents, good to see you. Hope you guys had a fantastic rest of your week. Be sure to smash the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace and love, baby.